Welcome to the Tilted Halo. This is a new podcast, and it's for anybody who's a woman in ministry. You might be a pastor like myself, a bishop, a priest, a rabbi, music minister, elder, children's minister, whatever your title is. You're absolutely in the right place, especially if you're someone who loves your ministry and you're doing it well and you're feeling pressure to sometimes be perfect, and deep down inside, you know you're not. And how in the world to deal with that? And men, you're absolutely welcome here too, because this is about ministry and the same thing can happen to you. So you're all in the right place. Let's get started with the show. There's a lot of talk these days, and has been, quite frankly, for a long time, at least a couple of years now, about immigration and immigrants and how many are okay to come here to, and I'm talking about the United States at this point, but this is not the only place where that's an issue at times. And, you know, do we welcome people? How are they allowed to come? Are they allowed to become citizens? You know, what's the whole process with all of this? And there have been waves of people trying to come into the United States, mostly across the southern border, some now coming across the northern border too. And it becomes a hot political issue. You know, how do we deal with all of these people? And nobody really has a great answer. I'm not suggesting that I have a great answer either. But because there are a lot of people and a lot of issues that come with that. You know, where do people go? Why are they coming? Are they bringing in drugs? Are they bringing in diseases? Are they here for, you know, really here because they want to be here and help this country and help their families who may be back in some other country? Are they coming, you know, why are they coming? Are they coming to escape a bad situation? Are they coming to bring attitudes and, you know, negative things into this country as far as, you know, being part of a gang or drug trafficking or any of those kinds of things? You know, there are legitimate questions to ask. There are very legitimate questions. And then there are the questions that are like when the U.S. troops left Afghanistan and the promises we made to all of the people who had been helping this country while we were there, and how many of them are still in Afghanistan and what that means to them. And how do we deal with that? How do we treat the ones who have been brought out? All these different kinds of questions. And as I think about these things, I look back at my ancestors. Recently, my husband and I had the roof on our house replaced that needed to be replaced. And the people who came and did the work did not speak English, which made it a little difficult when we wanted to try to communicate with them about something or ask a question, because I didn't speak their language. And they maybe understood me, but they couldn't respond. And I don't even know if they understood me. So that made things really rough. And that can be a way of saying, well, why can't, we don't want these people because they, you know, we can't understand each other. They need to learn English first. And then I look back at my own ancestors and my own family. My ancestors came to this country mainly in the mid-1800s. And most, as far as I know, all of them came from some part of Germany. Just as, you know, for whatever that's worth. And they all spoke German when they came. Makes sense. Came from Germany. But even a couple of generations later, they were still speaking German. All of my grandparents, didn't matter if they were second generation or third generation Americans, they still spoke German. I remember each of my grandparents speaking German when I was a little kid. Most of the time they did that because they didn't want us grandkids to understand something at that point in time. They just wanted to speak within themselves. But, and yet so many of us think that the people who come to this country now need to learn English right away and start speaking only English. Well, that has never happened, except for the people who came from an English-speaking country to begin with. But for everybody who has come from some other kind of country, they had to learn English. And for most of those people, that took generations for them to abandon their native language and speak only English. Even my father, who was like a third generation American and the seventh out of 8 children in his family, when he started school, he spoke German. He did not speak English. And he was told right then by the teacher in school, from now on, you speak English. But obviously, at home, they were still speaking German because that's what he learned and what he knew. I didn't grow up speaking German. I know very little of it, to be honest with you. But, everybody in the United States, at least, unless you're a full-blooded Native American, you're an immigrant here. Even if you came from an English-speaking country, you are an immigrant, an ancestor, a descendant of immigrants. And we forget that. We forget that when we say others are not welcome. Our ancestors came here for a better life, to escape things that were going on in their country, their native country, all kinds of different things. Sometimes they wanted to come. Sometimes it was a matter of survival to come. Didn't matter. They came. And they were welcomed. Some more than others. That's true. There's always been some sort of bias and discrimination against some, whether it was Chinese or Polish or German or whatever it was. There's been discrimination in some communities more than others. But over time, people have assimilated and become part of this country. And it's been a little different, I understand, from hearing from people who are African American or of an area where skin tone is darker. And that's been harder than for those of us who are Caucasian, because we look like the others. And that's unfortunate, because all of us are still immigrants. Doesn't matter. And the ones who are not immigrants, who were here first, we have not treated very well. Not at all. Pushed them off of native lands where they used to live so that we could take the better land, so that our ancestors could have the good stuff, and pushed them into reservations. And even now there's questions about the treaties that were signed and the rights that they have, whether our government will continue to honor those when it comes to water rights and land and care for the land. some of those kinds of things. So many of us are immigrants, but there is one thing that has always been, and that is love. Love is native to all cultures. Love is native to all faiths in some form or other. Love is what is native for all of us. Love is the common bond in all cultures, in all people. I'm currently reading a book called Love 2.0 that talks about the science of love. There is a science to it. And it's more than human sexuality and those kinds of things. It's love is bigger than that. Love includes that, but it's bigger than that. And that is what binds people together. It is what is the interconnective glue between groups. And it is a stronger bond than fear. It's a stronger bond than just survival. Love is the bond that allows for life. It allows for growth. It allows for creativity and inspiration. It allows for all of the wonderful things that we enjoy in life. And that's what we need to nourish, and that's what we need to see in each other. Whether it's somebody new coming to a country, and if you're in another country and there's the issues of people coming into your country from somewhere else, which is happening in places in Europe as well. And there's always been migrations of people, just like there are migrations of animals. There have always been people moving from one region to another for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's because of the economy. Sometimes it's because of war. Sometimes it's because of famine and natural disasters. But that's been happening for centuries. I mean, you think about the people of Israel. They ended up in Egypt because of a famine. They migrated and were immigrants into Egypt. And then there was the question of going to the land God gave them and promised to them. And they were immigrants into that area too, into what has become Israel. And, how do we get along with people in other areas? How do we get along with people who have moved into the territory? The new neighbors, so to speak. I just saw a movie recently where the movie is called A Man Called Otto. Tom Hanks is the star of the movie, but he is in this movie. The character is a man named Otto, and he has just been forced to retire, I should say, from his position because of a merger within the company. And he's feeling very at odds and at loose ends. He has no purpose and no meaning left in life. His wife has passed away 6 months before or something like this, and he's mourning her death, and he sees no reason to keep on living. And a new family moves in kind of across the street from him. And they have 2 young children, and the husband works in IT, and the wife is extremely pregnant, and she is a native of some Hispanic-speaking area. And she speaks English, but it's a broken English. And she is the kind of person who she's pounding on Otto's door and saying, we need a hammer. Do you have an Allen wrench? the husband at first calls it an Alvin wrench, not an Allen wrench, and kind of gets into Otto's life. And it is this woman who is the immigrant who Otto, who has no other family, she becomes kind of his next of kin in this movie. It's a very interesting movie. I'm not going to give away the rest of it, but over time, and it's because of her love and her care for Otto and her insistence on involving him, bringing him food, and even, interrupting some of his attempts at ending his own life, actually, in the movie. And it's all because of Otto that this happens, and because of this woman who is the immigrant who comes in with love. Love is native. That's what we all have to give. That's what is there for every single one of us. Look to the people around you who may be immigrants, newcomers to this country. Learn from them. It's amazing what we can learn from each other, the experiences they have had, the culture that they bring to us, the ideas, the traditions. It expands our horizons as far as how we understand the world. There is something to me that is kind of painful when I meet people who don't want to know about other people, don't want to learn about other traditions and other cultures, never want to go and see something outside of what they already know. It's like they're keeping their world small. And it's a sad thing. I've had the opportunity to travel to other countries, a few of them, and to see things. And I've always found people, they're good people every place I've been. And there's some beautiful traditions and things to understand and learn. Every place, absolutely every place. So love is what is native for every place and everyone. Focus on the love. Focus on the love that others bring to you. Focus on the love that you can bring to them. As a person of faith, as a person of God. So God's peace, God's blessings to each of you. Go forth in God's love. Until next time. You have been listening to Tilted Halo with me, Kathleen Panning. What did you think about this episode? I'd really like to hear from you. Leave me some comments. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode. And catch another upcoming episode for more conversation on ministry, life, mindset, and a whole lot more. Go to www.tiltedhalohelp.com, where I've got a resource guide and other resources waiting for you. And be sure to say hi to me, Kathleen Panning, on LinkedIn. See you on the next episode.